Okay, my name's Grant Scott. I'm the president of Conservancy Hornby Island. I've been that for, I don't know, 3-4 years now maybe. And we decided a couple of years ago that we wanted to change the focus of what the Conservancy is doing. It was hugely successful 12, 15 years ago when a fellow, Tony Quinn, was on it, and they established this whole area that we see behind us here as a park, a protected area. And they bought the land. They raised a whole bunch of money, I think 300 grand or something, and bought it from the fellow with I'm not sure if the Nature Conservancy was in it, but anyway, it ended up, the province took it over and now it's a park. So it was hugely successful, and the Conservancy was instrumental in doing that. So after that was done, the Conservancy spent some time. It was doing a bunch of stuff, but when I got on there, because of my fishing, connection and planning connection, I said, I mean, we've done a lot on the island now. The island's about 40% in parks, another 40% in crown land, so there's not, it's pretty well controlled, and what people can do. The water around Hornby's got no protection whatsoever. There's one little rockfish conservation area, which is right out here, but the rest of it is basically managed by regulation, by how many fish you can catch and all that kind of stuff. But there's no actual protection. And so we decided we wanted to change the focus of what the Conservancy was doing around that. And that's what we've been doing. It has two objectives. And this is what we said. The first year of this marine use planning was going to be around doing two things. One was to get as much data on the marine environment around us as we could. So you see all those maps that were in the room yesterday, and all that stuff that I showed in that initial set of that PowerPoint, all the values of the mammals, herring, birds, kelp, everything, aquaculture tenures, recreation sites, so not just wildlife stuff, but also the economic value of the marine environment, to get as much data as we could. And the secondly objective was to inform particularly the people of Hornby Island and Denman and others about those values. And that's what the HerringFest was about, was bringing those experts in and having all that information available to educate and inform the people of Hornby Island about the marine environment around them. And that's what the boat trips have been all about. So we had the school, which is doing it in the classroom with, like a learning environment, but going out on the boat gives it that reality thing of being out there and seeing the sea lions and feeling the air and the breeze and all that stuff. I started it, and I was the sort of the coordinator or facilitator, whatever you want to call it. So I did the first presentation, which was a general one about the marine environment around Hornby and how herring fit into that. So we focused on herring because that's what the whole. And then the three speakers after that were, two of them were worked for the what's called Institute of Ocean Sciences at UBC. One's a professor and the other's a research, both PhDs, so they gave their expertise on, one was sort of on the biology and the stocks and the tonnages and all that kind of stuff, and the other was more on the social side of it, and they used the Haida Gwaii and the Haida people where they'd done this work on sort of on the community side of it. And then in the afternoon, Dr. Pepper, who's a forest economist, or not a forest economist, but a fisheries economist, there's my forestry background coming out, but my fisheries economist, he talked about the history of the herring fishery, where it is today, the problems with it, and where it could go to maybe be more sustainable tomorrow. And those were the speakers. There was 4 of us generally. That's the $100 million question. If you asked 20 scientists, they'd give you 20 different answers.
Right.
Nobody really knows what it is around. I mean, there's lots of places in the Gulf they've got a similar fisheries environment that there is around Hornby. But I think a lot of it, I think in the bottom line, the herring, mature herring come here, the herring come here to spawn because it's the best place for their offspring to make it. I mean, that's generally what plants, animals do. They go where their offspring have got the best chance for survival. And I think, I don't know if you were at that thing yesterday, but you saw all of those little plankton, phytoplankton, and krill that young herring have to eat. I think, and that's why we have the whales have come back around here. That Humpback whales are back. And we have so many of these kind of krill feeders. It's like the whole scallop industry over there. Those shellfish all feed on plankton. That's what they eat. That's where they grow their shells and everything, and they form the whatever we eat. And I think that's why the herring are here. I think it's got to do with food for the young herring. The older herring aren't here to eat. They're here to spawn, and then they leave. And that's the problem with the roe industry. We take 10% of the biomass of these fish. 10% of it is roe that's processed and sold in Japan, basically, mainly. And then the other 90% we grind up into fertilizer or fish food for farms or something else. If we could have a fishery that might be a quarter of the size of what it is, which I think is an important thing, it's too big yet. It's too much. That's one thing. If we could do it at a level that we know is sustainable, and we could use it where we use those fish, what we do take, in a much more efficient and effective way, like for food and for a bunch of other uses. Like we ate it last night. I mean, a lot of places in the world, herring are considered a delicacy, right? Canadians just don't tend to eat herring. We got too much other stuff. Excuse me. So I think we have to use the fish more sustainably, basically, and fish fewer of them. When I first came here in the 60s, my dad was posted to Comox. We came over here in the summer a couple of times. But then my wife and I came here and we commercial fished around here back when there was we fished out of Ford's Cove here on that little boat right there, actually. When our daughter's on there, and we fished out of here for, I don't know, 20 years or something. And then we moved back here in 2000. So we've been here just about 20 years, living here full time. And why do we live here on an island, off an island, off an island? People always ask, why do you live on that little Mickey Mouse island, you know, way out in the middle? I said, well, generally I say if you don't understand why, I'm not going to try to explain it to you, but you come here for the beauty of the place, which you know, I mean, you've been coming here a long time. You come here for the beauty, you stay for the people. I think that's the simple answer. The people, you saw them, you know, they're very, it's just a great social place, really. Because the marine environment is such a profound, in my sense, part of the island. But the difference between the land and the sea, obviously, is you go out on the water. You go along the top of this, you go along the top. Everything's going on underneath. It's part of the mystery. It's part of the mystic of the ocean. You know, you go fishing, you dangle this stuff off the side of a boat, you know, and you try to, and what's going on down there? I mean, it's magic that you can put a line down there and catch this beautiful fish you can bring up, or prawns or crab or all the other things that we get here. And I think that's what it is, you know, it's part of that thing of trying to protect something that's really valuable, really beautiful, and a lot of people, so as you saw yesterday, the number of people that are excited about this whole marine conservation thing is pretty phenomenal.